Hi there, and welcome to another episode of Brandbait the podcast. This episode is going to be slightly different because I'm changing the format of how I'm doing it. So there'll be shorter episodes, and they'll be more specific on more relatable, in-time business problems, issues, successes, this sort of thing. So I want to really focus this one on different kinds of issues and problems within leadership and management from a business point of view. So in the news recently, The Social Element, it's a company run, and the CEO is Tamara Littleton. So they were looking at how a overly positive culture can actually be a bad thing, which is really interesting because when we talk about culture, it's very positively driven. You must be so positive, you must be this, you must be that, you must be super positive. Now, there are drawbacks to this, but again, now I believe it's more about being honest rather than being positive or negative. It's about just being honest and trusting the people that are there with you. It's about building trust rather than being overly positive. So she set out, according to her statement, she set out to build determined to make a friendly place to work, which is great. No one wants to go to work to an environment that no one wants to go to. So, The Social Element was founded in 2003 and has an annual turnover of 9.2 million. She wanted to you bring your best self to work. She wanted a good communication and very family-driven culture. So again, all positive things, great things to have, and it's less corporate-y, in my opinion. So she was going to expand to Australia to capture the Australian market and also use it as a gateway to Asia. So she went with her gut and just went there. And the whole team was all on board and everyone was super positive about going there. But it turned into a failure. So then you got to ask yourself, well, if everyone was so positive, the whole team, they'd done their due diligence, why were they so positive? It actually turned out that the Australian companies that they were working with were more concentrated on the Australian market rather than expanding into Asia. So that obviously expanding into the East and Asia, which was her original plan, then doesn't have the potential to move forward. So a good business sense would be, chalk it up to experience. You've made a little bit of a failure here, but let's not drag it on. Let's just cut ties and go with it. Maybe go to Hong Kong, Singapore, revisit it in a different location rather than just giving up on the whole idea. Then, looking back on it, it appears she found some members of her team that had doubts in the first place, but they didn't want to say anything because they didn't want to be the negative ones. Again, it goes back to the positive culture. It has to be this way. We're all positive and we're all going to be this way. So they were caught up in her enthusiasm, which is not a bad thing, but you want to encourage your people to sometimes challenge that enthusiasm. So Simon Sinek says it in a great way. Be the stupid person in the room. Ask questions until you're satisfied that you've covered everything. Now, bear in mind, everybody's covering of everything will be different. What I think is more important will result differently in other people. But then they may think of things that I've never thought of. So this back and forth kind of culture, it's really, really good. You're challenging everything. But again, is it challenging everything or is it being honest? Are you being honest rather than challenging cultures? So she describes it as being toxic positivity. So it actually hurt her business, her executive team being super positive and not questioning her decision. So is that a good idea? My opinion, it is. It's it's good to have positivity, but you have to challenge where these people are coming from, what the thoughts are, because you're not going to have all the answers. You're not going to have all the questions either. So people with different kinds of ways of looking at things will view things differently. So she wanted to then implement a healthy conflict to challenge each other's ideas. So my takeaway from that is a healthy conflict to challenge ideas is you are trying to put people into conflict situations. So is that a bad thing? You want people to be, the wording alone, I'm very interested in wording. So the very wording alone pushes it to, you want somebody to be in conflict with somebody, or do you want somebody to be supportive in a positive way, in a constructive way? So that only comes from honesty, in my opinion. You can't have a healthy culture which isn't honest. If your management and senior executive team cannot be honest even when it doesn't go with you, then maybe you need to have a communication with them, because they may not be the right people for that position. You want to encourage people to speak their mind. You brought these people into your business because of their skill set, because of who they are. But at the same time, you want them to be yes people because you want the company to grow and it's your business. But at the same time, you don't want, if they have more knowledge in this area or more experience in this area or have looked at something differently in this area, you want them to be honest about it. For me personally, if someone was to come to me and say, you know what, I think this is a bad idea. Have you thought of this? Have you thought of this? Could we do that instead of this? Maybe look at the data from here, not there. Have you seen this? Then, as a healthy leadership style, you have to take all of this into consideration. Ultimately, it is your decision how you move forward with it, but you should definitely encourage people to be honest. So is it about being honest, or is it about creating a healthy challenge culture? I think it's about having an honest culture. So I just thought I'd bring this little sample to you today on how being so positive can sometimes be detrimental, and how I don't really agree with the healthy conflict culture of it. I mean, I get the idea behind it, but maybe honesty is just the best policy. It's a proven, tested method. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little podcast. If you do find it informative and you like it, please feel free to like and subscribe. It does help the YouTube algorithms. And I will catch you in the next episode.